We have several webinars running as well. So, and in case you want to know or have the link to the other webinars we're running, I'm happy to drop it in the chat box as well. So you can let your colleagues know of all the webinars that we're running for the back to school season. And with that, I am going to mute myself and hand over to Christy, but I'm here in the background. If you need any kind of support, I'm happy to help. Thank you. Over to
Thank
you.
you. All right, welcome. Well, welcome to Reveal Math. And in our short time today together, I just want to share with you some of the unit features, the flow of the lesson, and talk about some of the assessment options as well. So that's kind of the key 3 points that we're going to look at today. With that being said, I like to be a little interactive and give you a minute to think about it. And I would just love to hear one word, or maybe two. What do you want math to look or sound like in your classroom this year? Whenever you're thinking about math in your classroom, if you can just put something in the chat on what you would love math to sound like in your classroom this year. Easy, enthusiastic. Oh, I love it. Fun. Yeah. Funny. Interaction. Definitely. Joyful. Oh gosh, realistic. So I think I see a theme here: easy, fun, enjoyable. Yes, we want to make math interesting. We want to make math relatable, fantastic, all kinds of great things that we want to be able to have this in the math classroom. And that's exactly whenever we think about Reveal Math, hopefully those are some of the things that you're going to see within the curriculum itself. Now, the other key thing is that just as a reminder for your students and for you, there's also a great digital platform. I'm going to go live towards the end. And then I always just like to remind that there is an app for students to use. So students that have some type of device that has an app, they can download their book and get to it that way. Another thing I want to share with you is that we've had a student that just absolutely adored using the online material. And so Rose was kind enough to make a quick little video about some of the key things that she loves in her Reveal Math platform. So I want to share that with you now. So let me introduce you to Rose. She's a third grader, and this is just some of the things that she wanted to share with you about using Reveal Math.
Hello teachers, my name is Rose, and I'm in third grade. Let me show you how easy it is to navigate my dashboard for Reveal Math. As soon as I log in, I can see my assignments at the top of the page. On the left side, I can access my home icon and see my past work. My teacher says this is a living portfolio of all the work I do this year. At the bottom of the page, I can access all games from kindergarten to 5th grade, an English and Spanish glossary, and 30 digital manipulatives. Today we worked on ways to represent 4-digit numbers. Let's take a quick look at my digital assignment. This looks just like my print student edition. I can work on my lesson by clicking the arrows at the top of the page. I'm going to use the built-in digital manipulatives to complete my work. Check this out, teachers. With just a click of a button, bam! I can quickly decompose my base 10 rod. Decompose is a fancy vocabulary word that means to break apart. If I need to, I can quickly combine the ones into a tens rod. Now that I am done, I can easily submit my work to the teacher. The exit ticket for each lesson can also be completed online. Each question has a built-in highlighter, notepad, and text-to-speech tool. For all my multilingual friends, they can translate the question in 109 languages. That is going to be so helpful for them. Teachers, that's all I have time to share with you today. Enjoy the rest of your presentation.
So as you can see, Rose is super excited about Reveal Math and some of the key things that they can do. And, this was just throughout the year how proficient Rose came in using the digital platform. Of course, I think it's a great blend between allowing the students to use that digital and the print. Now, also keep in mind that teachers, there's a new look for you on the teacher dashboard, and hopefully we've made things a lot more easy and accessible for you to get to as well. So we're super excited about that for you too. For those of you that are new, I always like to put up just the demo site, and here's what I like to call my picture perfect moment, is that this is the username and password for the demo site. Most of you have your own logins, but sometimes this is always good to have in my back pocket. Over the summer, we do change our password. So you may have had this from a previous year, but know that the password does get updated. So I like to update that for you in case some of you have used this too as well. So hopefully you have a chance to take a quick picture of this if you need to. And now we're going to jump right into Reveal Math and talk a little bit more about the structure of it. Now, some of those words that you guys talked about, joy, curiosity, mindset, those are some of the things that you're going to really see as you students begin to work through Reveal Math. As a matter of fact, one of the first things I encourage you to do whenever you begin Reveal Math is to give your students this math attitude survey. So this is kind of like the pre-test for the first unit, and it just gives them a chance to share with you, and you can get to know your students about really what they enjoy, how they see themselves as mathematicians. So start with that, and then you have that entire unit that's called Math Is. And Math Is, folks, is designed in the pacing of Reveal Math, and it's designed to take about 8 to 10 days. The first lesson is to allow students to really show that math is theirs. You know, math is mine. That everybody has a math story, and that can be doers of mathematics, and even has a superpower of mathematics. Last night we were at dinner with my 5-year-old grandson, and we were looking around the restaurant, and he saw that at the top they had some flags, and he saw that there was a pattern of red, green, yellow. And so it's amazing that, and I was like, your superpower is seeing patterns. So everybody has their own superpower, and allow students to recognize that. And then, of course, from there, we move into lessons 2 through 5 in the unit. And this is where we truly focus on the mathematical practices, so that they can see that mathematicians are, thinkers and problem solvers, and ways to just really communicate about mathematically effectively. Now, the key thing about this is that even from the very first day, every single one of our lessons has a consistent lesson structure. So you see, every lesson is going to start with a Be Curious moment, one of those sense-making routines, such as this: what do you notice? What do you wonder? Then it'll move into the consistent structure of Learn, and we'll pose a problem, and we'll ask students to work together. And then, of course, we'll allow them to practice and reflect on their own. The last lesson in the Math Is unit is Math Is Ours. And this is where we really want students to understand that in the classroom, they have voices and they have choices. And of course, we want them to know about the skills and what mindsets are truly expected within our math classroom, and even encourage students to help develop those norms for us themselves as a class. So I say that because sometimes I get questions about, the Math Is unit, is it really a necessity? Gosh, I've got limited time. Please allow that in your scope and sequence, and definitely start with this Math Is unit as you begin the school year. Now, even the Math Is unit, and every unit is going to have that consistent structure, and you're going to have a fantastic planner. If you look in your teacher's edition, the first 2 pages of the planner has just a wealth of information, including the math and the language objective, any key vocabulary, supplies that you might need. But dig a little deeper into that unit planner. And whenever you dig a little deeper into the unit planner, you are going to find fantastic information on focus, coherence, and rigor, on all the different types of routines within each unit and which routines are correlated with what lesson. And then you'll also find some key focuses on the effective teaching practices for you, the teacher, as well as the student mathematical practices. Now, if you've been teaching Reveal Math, you know that routines are a huge part of the program. And within the routines, just as a reminder, there are 11 different number routines, and a number routine is in each and every lesson to really support that fluency. And then you'll find the 8 mathematical language routines written out of Stanford University, one of those within each lesson. And then, of course, each lesson begins with that Be Curious and that sense-making routine. Once again, if you're new to Reveal Math or just need a refresher, in the appendix of each and every teacher's edition, you will find explanations to the individual routines. So there is a reference. So if you get there and you're like, oh, I'm not familiar with this routine, know that there is a reference to that at the end of each and every teacher's edition. So fantastic way to start the year is get students in their daily routine schedules, and you'll find that embedded within Reveal Math. Now, within the structure, basically what you see here is that every unit has a launch, a lesson, and a close. The question I get is, how many lessons are in each unit? It just depends on what's pedagogically sound. Some units may only have 4 lessons. There are some units that have quite a few, 16, 17 lessons within it. Within the launch of the lesson, you will find Career Kids videos, Ignites, and pre-tests. Use your best judgment. There's time paced in to use all these, but use what you feel is best there. Then every lesson has that consistent structure of the 3-part model where we're going to launch, explore, and develop, and then we are going to practice and reflect. Somewhere within the unit is a fantastic formative assessment probe to address a very specific misconception. And then, of course, the unit close. The unit close has a review, a performance task, and a assessment. So that's just a quick review of the unit structure. What I'd like to do is dive into some of the unit features, then we'll dive into a lesson, and then the unit close at the end. So one of the key pieces that you find at the beginning of the unit is a readiness diagnostic. And this is designed to let teachers know the prerequisite skills that they need to be successful within this particular unit. So before they start the unit, these are the prerequisite skills. Now, the beauty about this is in your teacher's edition, you have a fantastic item analysis report that shows you exactly what skill, and then there is a suggestion for a guided support intervention lesson. That guided support intervention lesson is what you will find embedded online. So you have that targeted intervention embedded online at the beginning of every single unit. As a matter of fact, let me show you, once you go online, because some of us maybe haven't done this before, is I'm just going to go in to one of my classes, and I'm using the demo site. And then you kind of see, those of you that maybe haven't been in, we've updated our look just a little bit, our dashboard. And if I just use where it says table of contents, and if I just open up any unit, Now it'll be after the math is unit, but open up any unit. Right here, there's that readiness diagnostic, and then right underneath that are all my targeted intervention lessons. So that's one of the keys that at the beginning of the unit to really help set students up for success within the unit and give them that just-in-time instruction that they need. Now, the other thing I like to point out about this is that not only is this targeted intervention at the beginning of every unit, but if you scroll down once you're in the unit, well, let me scroll down a little bit. I'm in a rather long unit here. And if I scroll down, once I'm in this unit, then what you'll notice here at the end, there's unit review and assess. And guess what, folks? There's targeted intervention there as well. So that's one of the other keys, that built-in intervention within the Reveal Math platform, because we don't want you to have to be the big hunter and gatherer of that information. The other key thing is that within units, there is always a focus question and a STEM student is introduced, and that STEM student has a career connection. And so there are short little videos that introduce the unit, and then that same STEM career kid will be developed throughout the unit. So here's just a quick little glimpse of it.
Do you like to bake? I know I do. I'm measuring flour for a batch of muffins right now. I'm Saffron. I bake all sorts of things with my grandma. These were in the oven at just the right temperature for just the right time. I'll use this recipe at my own bakery when I'm a pastry chef.
So it's just a fantastic way to help get students interested into the math, the joy, the fun, the excitement, the enthusiasm that many of you shared with me at the beginning of this. A third way to help really students get excited about the mathematics, and I like to say it really just hints at the mathematics, are our Ignite activities. And our Ignite activities are very consistent. You'll see them at the beginning of each and every unit. And the idea is right here, what's written on the screen. It's to help cultivate the curiosity, allow students to accept a challenge. The first day that you do the Ignite, we may not give students the answer. All right, we might want them to just begin to develop that curiosity and let them to begin to think about that. Of course, it's going to be trial and error, embrace failure, work together, and most importantly, allow students just to play. So that's one of the ways that they begin each and every unit is with the Ignite activity. And within that, you'll see that, it's just going to hint at the mathematics about what students are going to do within that particular lesson. So just a really nice way to be able to do that with students. From there, once we move into there, then we begin to talk about a lesson. But one more thing I totally forgot is that right here also in your teacher's edition is that there is one more fantastic page that introduces the unit, and that is right here at the end where you see just a culmination of all the workstations that are there. And the workstations include both digital games and games that students can do hands-on. And then you'll find that online additional resources, we have our great foldables and our vocabulary cards. So I did want to mention those two things. And you find a dedicated page at the beginning of every unit just to remind you of those key additional resources. Also at the beginning of the unit, you do find information about the probe. And whenever you're looking at the Cheryl Tobin math probe, right here, I say locate and explore it, because bottom line, it's going to address a very specific misconception. And so it's going to be at different places within the units. It's not consistently in the same place. Why? Because basically probes are a 3-act process. The first thing, whenever we look at a probe, we analyze the probe. And I suggest prior to administering it, you do the probe yourself. Then from there, you collect, you'll anticipate any students' difficulties, and then you'll administer the probe. And after that, review the students' responses and explaining, and look for patterns in their misunderstanding. The other nice thing is that Cheryl's researched this for about 10 or 12 years. And so you find in your teacher's edition, you'll find sample work for students of incorrect and correct responses. So you begin to look for that pattern. And then, of course, the other thing we really want to do is we want to take action. We really want to take action with students. So that's the last piece of the unit that I wanted to talk about that are very specific. And whenever you're planning your unit, those are some of the things I want you to keep in mind, and your students best and your classroom best. What's the best way to introduce it? Through that Ignite, maybe through that video, those key things. I definitely encourage you always doing that readiness so we can set those students up for success and know exactly which prerequisite skills we need to target before we get started within the lessons. Now, the lesson structure here within Reveal Math, as we mentioned, is very consistent. It's always going to be launch, explore and develop, and practice and reflect. Then from there, you'll have opportunities for an assessment ticket, an exit ticket, and then differentiation. The key piece here is this explore and develop, where you've got two different types of activities. You have an activity-based exploration that's much more hands-on for your students, but you also have a fantastic guided exploration that's still got great questioning and allowing your students to do rich discourse within the math classroom. So either way, you've got a great activity here. And this part of the lesson, I get a lot of questions about it, is designed to take about 20 minutes. And the other thing is that, and I'll share with you, it doesn't have to be one or the other. You can kind of blend the two together, use a little bit of the slides, the guided exploration along with the activity base, and give students that opportunity to do the hands-on. Now, to launch the lesson, whenever you begin, the first thing that you'll see in your teacher's edition is you'll see your learning targets for your students, your standards, your focus, coherence, your rigor. And then on that same page, you will also find your number routine. And this is one way that we suggest you launch the lesson. The other thing I've seen a lot of teachers do with these number routines is this is how they launch their entire school day, is with this number routine to allow students to have that math in the morning. And this is an excellent way. So it doesn't necessarily have to be done right at the beginning of the math block. So for example, with John Sangiovanni, you'll see these different number routines, and they are designed to promote fluency and decision-making basically within there. As I said, there's, I believe, 11 different number routines, such as math pictures, decompose it, greater than or less than, would you rather, where does it go, the mystery number. So here's a mystery number. The mystery number is a 3-digit number. It's less than 200. The mystery number has a 3 in it. The mystery number is even. Did you guess my mystery number? So just allowing students these clues and to be able to play this particular type. And of course, what's the beauty about that? If we did that mystery number, what could we do? We could repeat it again. And your students could begin to play this with each other. Guess my mystery number and give each other clues. So really great ways to establish and work through these. And these are found. So you'll notice that there's a head nod to them in your teacher's edition. But the key thing here is that whenever I go online and I go into a unit, so see, I'm at my table of contents and I'm going to open up, and now I'm in a unit and I go into my lesson. My number routine is here, but it is also part of my slide presentation. So I can look right here and, oops, I didn't mean to open my tray. Sorry about that. Looks like I'm on the demo site. Looks like somebody has been in here rearranging. And there is my number. But you will find your number routine embedded right there within your lesson presentation. And the reason that we have those in there, you can see, whoops, it's taken mine a minute. They are interactive to load here. So like here's find a pattern, make the pattern. So we'd have this up as students work through. And then we could talk about it and then look at the bottom here. Can I create a new pattern that follows the same rule? Now, why I'm here showing you this, some of the new updates, because that was another thing on the chat I saw this morning that someone was like, oh, I'm excited to see about some of the new updates. Let me share you 2 updates right here that I think you're going to be super excited about. And that is, if you're an upper elementary teacher and you might teach more than one section of mathematics, is that we now have the option to sync the presentations. So if you've customized and edit your presentation and get it exactly the way you want it, now you can sync that presentation so that each one of your sections have the same presentation, which is super nice. And then another key thing that some of you may not be aware of is that we have now added PowerPoint presentations. So for every single lesson, there is the editable lesson presentations in the form of a PowerPoint. I share that with you, but I also want to let you know that because of the interactive nature of our number routine that we start at the beginning of each and every lesson, it is not part of the PowerPoint, like I said, due to the interactive nature of it. So just know that that number routine is something that we have it in your tell you about it in your teacher's edition, but it is truly an online resource because of the interactivity of it. So just FYI there. So the number routine is a great way to launch and do your begin your lesson, or as I said, it's great morning work. Then from there, we move into the Be Curious moment. And this is where you'll see on the student pages, the sense-making routine, such as what do you notice, what do you wonder, and you do have a slide for that. And sometimes those are a little more interactive than the regular just flat copy on your page, but it'll look very similar. And these routines are, what do you notice, what do you wonder? They're also, is it always true? Which one doesn't belong? Those are the different types of routines that you're going to see open up the lesson. Now within that, there will also be a math is mindset. So helping students along with that math is and continuing that sense of community as we move through the school year. And just a reminder in each and every lesson. So we'll move from the launch the lesson, and that's where we'll have, like I said, the John Sangiovanni number routine, as well as the Be Curious moment. And then we'll move into the Explore and Develop. And with the Explore and Develop, I encourage you to have your book open with the 2-page spread, because it's basically in 3 parts in Explore and Develop. It's pose the problem, then develop the math. And whenever you develop the math, this is where you choose activity-based or guided exploration. Or as I mentioned, it really doesn't have to be one or the other. You can take some of these slides and embed it in here with this. And then let's not forget to put the bow on it. Let's not forget to synthesize and bring it all together. So every single time we're going to start with that, pose the problem. And that'll be our learn. What are some ways to represent this number? And then from there, we'll allow students to think about that. And as we're thinking about that, we might introduce base 10 blocks. We might introduce place value, expanded form. However the students, whatever we feel like the level of our students are, there'll be suggestions there in the Teacher's Edition on ways to encourage and promote that way of thinking and allowing students to work through the mathematics. Now, as I said, this is where you could take, and not only could you do it with the hands-on, but whenever I go into my lesson here, right, I'll have my Explore and Develop, and I do have that guided exploration. And within that guided exploration, oops, let me back up here. Here is that first pose the problem. So whether I'm doing activity-based or I'm going to do a more guided exploration, I would have this slide up as we begin to work through this. And then, depending on how my students are doing, I might continue to begin to talk about how we want to work through this and talk about standard form. Or I might allow my students just to tinker with the mathematics, enjoy, playing and finding the joy of discovering the mathematics. And then at the end, one of the other keys that you can do right here is there's this little table of contents, and I can skip down and I can go all the way down to the bring it all together to synthesize it. So then here we go. 4-digit numbers have thousands, hundreds, tens, and one. Let's read and write this number in different forms. And then how can we work together to represent this number in expanded form? So you could allow your students to read and write together. And that's just simply, like I said, kind of blending the idea of the activity base, but also giving them a little bit of the guidance within there. So feel free to do those two things together. I think that's always a real helpful piece within that as we synthesize and allow students to work together. In your Teacher's Edition, you'll have prompts to help you develop the language of mathematics, maybe any common misconceptions that the students may have. That will all be found within that lesson there. From there, we move into the practice. So we want students to work on my own, and there's 2 pages dedicated of practice on my own in every lesson and that you find. The other question I get is, do I have to assign all of them? Oh goodness, no. Pick 1 or 2. It's just really good for you to be able to look at that. And also keep in mind, whenever students get to this point, and maybe they need to hear it one more time, maybe they need to hear what we were developing, the math, one more time, there is an excellent math replay video. And basically, this math replay video is the exact same problem that we just worked through. And whoops, I thought it was going to start playing. I've taken off the sound here, but it's the same problem. We're talking about base 10. We're talking about place value. We use base 10 blocks to introduce the place value, and it's going to work through the same problem that we did in the Explore and Develop. So not only is this great for some of our students to hear it again, but sometimes whenever our students go home and they're practicing the math, they may have someone at home that needs to hear it and see it again. So this is an excellent place for to encourage them to go in and see that. Now, another key, whenever I talked about the practice problem, is that there is a item analysis chart. So Christy, whenever you said just choose 1 or 2 of the problems, how can I know which ones to choose? Well, you've got a great DOK, depth of knowledge chart. So you can see, hey, I might want to choose 1 of these to help with the conceptual understanding, maybe choose 5 or 6 to go with the procedural skill, and then I might choose 1 through 9 through 12 on the application. So that's another really nice chart in your Teacher's Edition to help you in assisting your students. Once you do that, now what? What do I do? Well, in every lesson, there is an embedded exit ticket. And that exit ticket is not in their print book. That is part of the design. So it's either a PDF or you can assign it to the students online. So once again, whenever I go back here online and I'm at the lesson level, you'll notice that there's a dedicated folder here for assessment. And within that, that is where you find the exit ticket. Now, how do I know the difference? Well, see this one that kind of looks like a little dog-eared piece of paper? That's the PDF. So if I was going to print it out and give it to my students, that's the one I would use. Or if I was going to assign it online, this is the one that I would assign online to my students. And you'll see right here, there is even what we like to call a quick assign. So I can very quickly just click that, and then this screen will pop up, and you'll have the different options of even renaming it, when to start it. You can give your students more than one attempt to do it, and then that quickly it will be assigned to your students. The other key nice thing about that is that, of course, for you, the teacher, once you assign this, then you have exit ticket recommendations. So if a student scores, 3 out of 3, then hey, they're probably ready to go on to some additional practice or even some extensions. If they scored 2 out of 3, we might need to let them do our take another look activity. If they've only, they scored less than 1 out of 3, then they perhaps need some small group. And that's where you'll find R stands for our reinforced understanding. Our B is our build proficiency. And then our E is our extend thinking within our lesson structure here. So those are the key things that you'll see as you're embedded within that. And that helps, as I mentioned, to differentiate. Now, the last page of every Teacher's Edition lesson is where you find your differentiation menu. So this is where I tell teachers, this is where McGraw Hill did a fantastic job, that you do not have to go be the hunter and gatherer, because just check this out. You've got ways to reinforce understanding, build proficiency, and extend thinking. You've got ways to do this for workstations. So if I want to do some workstations and maybe I'm working with these students in a small group, then what do I do with my students that are just building proficiency? Well, they've got digital or hands-on games, or I've also got some application stations for those students that need to extend their thinking. There's also great digital practice in these Take Another Look mini lessons, which are about 15 minutes, interactive mini lessons. And then there is additional interactive practice online. There's a spiral review. And then many times there's a fantastic web sketch exploration or a STEM activity to help extend their thinking online. Now, what happens if you want to do some individual practice? Well, no worries there, because also embedded in our differentiation, you'll find that independent practice. You'll find those pages to help students that might need to reinforce and see a review of it, or just some additional practice pages. So it's all there for you online. And once again, let me show you that there is a dedicated blade here for differentiation. And within that, that's where you find your small group, my reinforced understanding. And if you haven't checked out this Take Another Look, I encourage you to definitely check those out, because basically it is a 3-step mini lesson. It's going to give students a chance to learn, maybe using a different set of manipulatives. Like, for example, we used base 10 blocks whenever we introduced place value. Maybe we're going to, in this video, it might introduce the place value chart. And then students will work through and they'll learn and apply. And then at the very end, there's another quick little exit ticket. So it's a fantastic place for students. And you can assign this to one student, to a group of students, key ways that you can definitely do that. And this is under the differentiation tab. Then, of course, here's your build proficiency. This is where you'll find your digital games, your spiral review, your additional practice. Your additional practice and your spiral review can be print or digital. So see, here's the little print one. There's the digital one. The one thing I want to say, I want to back up here, is in this building proficiency, these game stations, these do require a little bit of prep time. So these do require a little take a minute. You know, these are task, like this one has particular task cards, and so you run these off for the students, and then their 6-sided number cubes are required to use this. So you do have a little bit of prep time in those. And then, of course, down at the bottom, this is where you find your STEM adventures, your application stations, ways to really extend students' thinking within that. So fantastic differentiation menu that's available in for the students as you work through the lesson. Then at the end of the unit, you've got vocabulary reviews, you've got content reviews, already all built in there for you. There is a performance task at the end of the unit, so keep that in mind. In your teacher's edition, you've got a rubrics there to help your guidance for that. And last but not least, as we continue to develop that fluency, we've got that fluency in every single lesson with those John Sangiovanni number routines. But at the end, you're going to find fluency practice, fluency flash, fluency check, fluency talk. And in your teacher's edition, there is great fluency progression chart, and even what are the fluency expectations as I move through from grade level to grade level. So I know that some of you are not new to Reveal Math, but there's so much in that teacher's edition that hopefully you've seen something that you're like, oh, I missed that last year. Here also at the end of the unit are your 2 unit assessments. They are available in print and digital. And just as a reminder, we have that same built-in intervention at the end of the unit as we had at the beginning of the unit. So we have those skill support worksheets. We've got that small group guided support. And then we also encourage those take another look mini lessons, ways to do that throughout our unit. There are tons of opportunities for formative and summative assessment. They can all be given to your students in print, but they also are all there digitally. So one more place I want to show you is whenever you do go online, you have a dedicated tab over here on the far left called Assessments. And within that assessments, you have Reveal Math, assessments, and then also just FYI, if you click on this, that little arrow, then it puts everything in alphabetical order for me, and that just helps me a little bit more. You'll see you've got your folder for course assessments as well as Spanish, but then you have for every unit except Unit 1, you have a dedicated assessment folder and a practice folder. So whenever I open up, this is Reveal Math, Grade 3, Unit 2, Assessments. Whenever I open that up, that's where I find my readiness diagnostic. I also find my 2 unit assessments for the end of this unit, and then all my exit tickets. I go back to my assessment folders. I also have a practice, and whenever I open that up, that is where all my additional digital practice is and my digital spiral review. So I can go out and assign these digitally, not only from the lesson level, but I can assign them here at the assessment level as well. The other key about all this is that you, the teacher, can go in and totally customize and create a new assessment. So you can call this the best assessment ever, and you can pull from any assessment within our program. Those live right here in a dedicated folder called Your Assessments, called My Assessments. And then the beauty about that is once I create that, I can share with other colleagues in my school, and that goes right here into their copies received. So our assessment folder has a lot of resources there for you to work through and to use and customize within your school. Last but not least, before I open it up for questions, I want to go back to my dashboard and let you, and just as a reminder, that within the Reveal Math table of contents, we have a program learning and support resources. So I just barely touched on assessment, but if you go to this Getting Started with Reveal Math, you will find a quick start program. There it is, the quick start. And within that quick start, there's a dedicated tab on the assessment features. There's also a wonderful implementation guide here in the Getting Started for Reveal Math. And you'll find fantastic support for that Math Is unit. Christy, you talked a lot about different types of routines. Here is great guidance for any of the routines, including the number routines, the Ignite activities, the math probes. And down at the very bottom, you'll also find some great videos on model lessons from teachers that have been using Reveal in their classroom. So that is a brief overview about the structure of Reveal Math, and a little bit about the on-demand teacher support that we have for you. I want to thank you for listening to me. And then now I want to spend these last, I think we have about 10 minutes or so to make sure that I open it up for any particular questions that we might have. So thanks so much for hanging out with us, and let me know what kind of questions we need answered.
Thank you, Christy. I know we had a very short amount of time, but you did so well going over all of that. Thanks a lot.
Sure. Okay. So in some of the questions, let's see. I didn't have a chance to read the questions as I was going through. Let's see. Is there a way
there's
for
one that says, how can we download the teacher edition? And I see a couple of questions that also came in the chat about the teacher edition. They wanted to know, how can you download the teacher ebook? How can you download the teacher edition?
Okay, so for copyright reasons, we really can't download the teacher's edition. But what, you've got some great places, you've got some things that you can use here. And my suggestion for that is number one, whenever you're at the dashboard right here, this is where you will find your teacher's edition. And then whenever you go into a particular, let me get into a particular unit and a particular lesson. Whenever I go in here, to me, one of the best resources as far as downloading and kind of guidance for my teacher's edition would be this downloadable, whoops, I went too far, lesson presentation, my PowerPoint, because that PowerPoint basically is going to have the guided questions as you work through a particular lesson. So that would be the best place for me to be able to do that. Now, where it says print teacher's edition, this basically just opens up the interactive teacher's edition. So it's not really, I think this is where they're getting confused. We really can't download and print from there because of the copyright.
Right. Yeah, I just wanted you to address that because a lot of teachers wanted to know. And the other thing is, what about this? Can you show us the differentiated activities in every lesson?
Yeah, so that's a great one. So I'm going to go back to the dashboard just to, get back centered home. And then if you drop to your table of contents, whenever you look at your table of contents, these are all your units. And basically, if you will just open up, you'll see there's an arrow right to the right here. And to the right of that will now take you into your unit. And within your unit, you'll see this unit, I've got 12 different lessons. I can simply choose any lesson. Doesn't matter. It's going to be consistent no matter what lesson I choose. And as I open that up, you're going to have folders, your lesson resources, number routines, launch, assess. And after assess, there is differentiate. And within differentiate, this is where you'll find all your great resources, such as reinforce understanding. And notice that somebody was asking, like, where can I print things? This is a great place that you can print things. So, and reinforce understanding, here's a printable PDF. So you can download it, you can print it. See these two little icons? And as I move forward down to build proficiency, here's my spiral review. Anything that kind of has that little folded corner, that's usually a PDF. So here's my spiral review. That's a PDF. And I can continue to look down. I've got additional practice. There's my additional practice. That's a PDF. And sometimes on my extend thinking, I also have. So lots and lots of practice and lots of differentiation. The key goal here in our differentiation tab was to give you enough. There's about a dozen resources here, so you don't have to go be the hunter and gatherer to find all that to go in your workstations in your different places. Did that help answer that?
Thank you so much. And I see that there were about 3 questions asking about the assignments and if they're printable. So are the assignments printable? How to print the worksheet and assignment? So if you could guide that about that, please.
Yeah, so all of it underneath differentiation, I can definitely, assign. Whenever I look at this, like right here, this spiral review, or this, let's go down to this additional practice. This is assignable, digital online, and then this one's the printable one. So I can definitely assign online. I just click here, and I can rename it if I want to put it on mine. I can put the start date, the due date. I can do all that. I can allow for late submissions. I can do it to one student or individual students. I can also do different number of class attempts. So, I think practice makes progress. So if it's just a practice, I could assign them up to 3 different attempts. And then, boom, it's assigned. Now, the same thing works for assessments. If I go, and I'm back in my table of contents, and I go down to my drop-down menu here at the very bottom, whenever I look here underneath assess, you'll see I have both a digital and a print. The only piece of assessment I cannot assign digitally is the performance task. And whenever we look at the performance task, we see why that has to be done, in print versus the digital. But everything else has a print and a digital version. And where I may have caused a little bit of confusion is right here underneath assessments. This is where your entire digital, this is where you have all your digital pieces that you can assign. And if you wanted to print from here, you can simply click on these 3 little dots, and there is an option to print, and it will generate a PDF from there too as well. So you've got lots of different options to do that. What are anything else? Did that help clarify that, you think?
Thanks. And I know we have 5 minutes left, and there's so many questions coming, and I'm sorry if we cannot address all of them, but a couple of people are asking about the video. Are there videos? Can you show me the videos?
Oh, again, yes.
Could we download the videos?
The math replay videos are not downloadable. they are assignable and they're already on the student dashboard. But that's one of the best videos is, once again, if you go to any lesson, and I just keep going to the same lesson, but it doesn't matter. You go to any lesson, underneath your practice and reflect is where you find your math replay video. And it's already on the student page, but if you want to assign it to them, you can definitely assign them there. You can assign the videos. And then remember at the beginning of the unit, I'm going to go back to the unit. Whoops. Well, I thought I was going to go back to the unit. Let's try that. I hit the wrong button. Now, at the beginning of the unit, you have your STEM and action videos. So this is where you can also find your videos. And then for you, the teacher, personally, every single unit has a great video by one of our authors, just introducing kind of the theme and what is the big ideas behind the unit. So there's videos for the students. I don't know if they were talking about videos for the students, but I also just wanted to tag that in there too. There's also great videos for you, the teacher.
Thank you. And there's another one that says, where is the practice book?
Okay. So the practice book is in that differentiation, every single one of those. But if you wanted the whole entire practice book, if I go up to Program Resources Course Material, and I look under Planning Resources. I knew I was going to hit the wrong one. I look under Planning Resources. I will find my student practice book. So my entire student practice book, if I wanted the entire PDF of the entire book, it's under Program Resources. It's under Planning Resources. Program Resources, Planning Resources. Not only is the entire practice book there, but also know that your differentiation workbook there, your assessment resource book, your game station book, all of them are all there too.
Thank you. Any more questions? How do we access the guided support document?
The guided support documents. I'm not the guided support doc. Can you help me out with that?
I'm trying to understand what you mean by that, Nikki. The guided support documents. Are you looking for teacher guided resources, or where's the practice book that's done?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just going over the question.
Yeah, I know. Me too. I'm doing this. I'm with you. I'm doing the same thing, just kind of going over and looking. But for guided support, one of the key things too is there is that implementation guide for you, the teacher. So if you go to where it says Program Overview and Learning Resources, whenever you open up Getting Started with Reveal Math, one of my personal favorites is the implementation guide. And if you received a kit, you may, whenever you received a Reveal Math, if you have your print, check that out. It's a skinny little spiral, and that's going to give you great support for any piece of the Reveal Math. That might be the best help.
Excellent. And how do we create a class and add the students? Rava, that's a very integration question. Can you email that to me or reach out to Louise, one of the person in the implementation team? Rava, I'm going to give you the email address now. And someone's asking about the certificate. So that will be emailed to you as well on the email address that you've registered for. Recording, yes, we will be sharing the recording of this session. Are there any other questions? I'm sorry if we could not address your question, but you will have access to the recording. I just want to thank Christy for your time. This was so helpful for all of us to know about this, and especially for the teachers who joined us. Thank you so much.
Yeah, y'all have a great school year. And there was one question I did see about Common Core. And yes, all the standards in there are Common Core. We didn't even get a chance to really get into the reporting, but within the reporting, you can see all the Common Core standards. Everything is tagged that way. So yes, it is. So great question. And thank you for having me. Y'all have a great school year.
Yes, have a great school year. Thank you so much. Bye. See you next time. Oh, sorry, I almost forgot. I was supposed to drop the link. We do have another webinar, by the way, for Review Math 6 to 12, because I see someone was asking about the presentations for grade 7 and 9. So that's going to start in an hour. So if you have teachers who teach Review Math 6 to 12 and would like to join the session, let me know. And I can drop the link for you. Hang on, I'll drop the link anyway, because you can then have a look what other back to school webinars we are running in case you have missed out to register. So the one we have tomorrow is My Math, and later today we have Reveal 6 to 8. So yes, we do have a certificate for webinars actually, but that will be emailed to you next week. So just be patient with me there. We haven't sent out any yet. So if you've not received it for your previous ones, Lania, that's for you. You will receive it later. And I've dropped the link to register in case you have to register for the rest of the sessions. We have one later this evening, I guess, which is for Reveal 6 to 12. Have a great school year. Thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of the day. Bye.